To begin with, Superman caused a super traffic jam. The 950 or so who were leaving the theater parking lot were meeting head-on with the 950 or so just getting there. The producers are hoping Superman will outdraw even the biggest box office hits like Star Wars. Judging from those who've seen it, it's well on its way.
I thought it was great, really.
Fantastic movie. See it.
Special effects are great. Fantastic.
Just like a second childhood. Good.
Superman the movie is a monumental cinematic achievement. Superman is iconic. Superman is great. Superman is funny.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
Superman is long. Like, longer than the average superhero movie nowadays. Superman is largely episodic. Superman has one of the strangest structures of one of the classics. But Superman is still awesome, because Superman is an amazing origin story until it's not. The 3-act structure of Superman ends at the 47-minute mark of the movie. Act 1 establishes the world of Krypton and emphasizes the significance of Kal-El as our protagonist. The film's inciting incident of Krypton's destruction occurs, and as this happens, Kal-El literally leaves his ordinary world behind and is thrusted into a bold new world. His normal life is left behind. Act 2 establishes Martha and Jonathan as the bright spots in Kal-El, now Clark Kent's, life. Them being his parents support exactly who Clark is and how he differs from regular men. Clark seems to be very fond of his superpowers, as we get the fun and games of the film through Clark playing around with his powers at various ages. We understand that Clark has fun with his powers until we reach the midpoint of the film, where Jonathan Kent suffers a heart attack and dies. As a pillar of Clark's innocence leaves the story, Clark is left in ambiguity, assessing the role of his powers in his life. If his powers surpass ordinary men, why couldn't he save the man that he loves most?
Those things I can do. All those powers. And I couldn't even save him.
Clark continues to ponder this internally until he realizes that his answer cannot be found in Smallville. Act 2 ends with Clark at his lowest point, telling his mother he has to leave his home. Here, Clark has to leave his understanding of himself to become what he is truly meant to be. But what is that? Act 3 shows Clark confronting the antagonist of uncertainty. He stares the unknown straight in the face as he enters the Fortress of Solitude. Here, he is greeted by his father, Jor-El, who tells Clark that his extraordinary gifts can be used to serve mankind. His differences don't set him above humanity. It grounds him in it by giving him the chance to fight for others to live. Clark concludes his identity crisis by accepting the words of his father and transforming into a symbol of truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Clark concludes Act 3 by transforming into Superman. This is a remarkable representation of epic storytelling, outlining the blueprint of telling an origin story that films would use for decades to follow. Clark's transformation into Superman is such a powerful closing to the story of the film. However, there's still an hour and a half of movie left. Superman's origin serves almost like a prologue to the film, with the remaining runtime focused on Superman in Metropolis. And this is much less interesting than the rest of the film. The reason being is the rest of Superman lacks focus. A prime example of this is the antagonist of this hour and a half, Lex Luthor. I love Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. His characterization is genuinely fun in the movie, but he has nothing to do with the rest of the film.
And Otis, by the way, the next time, put my robe on after I'm out of the pool.
It takes 45 minutes for Lex, who is introduced an hour into the movie, to interact with Superman. We see him up to sinister schemes, but those sinister schemes don't affect Clark until the movie creates a contrivance for the two to meet in the film's final half hour. This being, Lex thinks Superman will interfere with his scheme because he's a good guy. And that's it. Because of this, Clark lacks a real antagonist after his origin story is complete. And frankly, Clark lacks much of a character arc after his origin story. We see Clark working at the Daily Planet and pretty quickly take a romantic interest in Lois Lane. Now, Clark and Lois's dynamic is actually really fun and cute, with Clark bumbling around and Lois not being impressed.
Can I take you to the airport?
Not unless you can fly. Clark. Ladies.
Sorry.
Change my clothes, thank you.
Well, hey, Lois, maybe we can...
Because of this, Clark's romantic gestures typically fall short on Lois, and this contrasts nicely with Superman's confidence towards Lois, and therefore her swooning for him.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't, but, if I did, Miss Lane, you'd be the first to know about it.
They share an amazing moment where they fly through the city, but that's about as far as their relationship goes. Now, these relationships are all very heartwarming, but the audience picks up on the nature of them very quickly. Superman hadn't ever revealed his identity to Lois in the comics up to this point, so why would he here? The audience understands that nothing is going to change, Lois will never fall for Clark, and Superman can never date a civilian. And this can be okay, but because the movie lacks an urgent external or internal threat, it doesn't leave much substance for this back half of the film. And because the status quo of relationships do not change, this hour and a half feels very episodic. It's really a connection of tonally jarring scenes where good trumps evil and nerdiness isn't respected. 1 minute you'll have an earnest flight with Superman, the next you'll have Lex's assistant Otis making ridiculous mistakes. The story structure of the back half of Superman is flawed, leaving little room for the re-emergence of a satisfying character arc which the film was built on. However, even through these issues, Superman the movie is still regarded as a masterpiece. And it's not just because it pioneered changes in special effects. It's not just because it paved the way for the superhero genre to become the juggernaut it was in the 2010s. It's not just because it's a classic. It's because of Superman. Superman was a character that could transcend story structure.
The first time I ever saw Chris really fly, he came at camera, and for some reason, he actually banked his body, and he flew past us. The camera stopped rolling, there was dead silence, and then like 50 people all of a sudden started just cheer.
The flying happens in the eyes. It must happen as a state of mind.
You've never seen a man fly like that before.
Superman released in 1978, a time where America was still recovering from the horrors of the Vietnam War, a time where outrage occurred at the Watergate scandal, a time when films seemed cynical. Many movies in the 1970s demonstrated the filth that encompassed American politics. They detailed corruption, apathy, and a lack of trust in the government. And beyond this, movies were transitioning to featuring morally gray protagonists. In a time when cinema reflected the worst of humanity, Superman soared out of the dirt of apathy.
Pauline Kael, the noted film critic, said the young actor chosen to play the lead in Superman is the best reason to see the movie. I've only seen excerpts from the picture, but from friends of mine who have seen it, they say it's a great picture and a lot of fun. This is his first appearance on The Tonight Show. Would you welcome, please, Christopher Reeve. Chris!
Christopher Reeve's performance as Superman is truly one of a kind, where just a smile can cement him as a friend in your life. A rise in his posture echoes that you're safe. A flight with him shows you that he cares. Superman cares about all of us. Superman loves humanity. If the movie got one thing right, it's that. And that is so wonderfully set up through Superman's origin story. That 3-act structure turns him into a believable hero that wishes the best for each and every one of us. Where the rest of the film may be lacking in structure, it makes up for it in its moments. Yeah, the movie lacks tonal consistency, but when it's sincere, it radiates with hope and kindness. Superman had the guts to be goofy, to be earnest, to be goody two-shoes in an industry that was moving away from it. The cheese of Superman was filled with a love for the DC comics and fills audiences with wonder. Audiences believe a man can fly. Audiences believe that there's a man who has their back. Audiences understand that they are worth fighting for. In the movie, Superman does not punch a single character. Superman isn't focused on retribution. He's focused on compassion. Superman served as a symbol of honesty in a grim time, and that was enough. So when people think back on this movie, they don't care that the Lex plotline and the Superman plotline don't naturally connect. They don't care how after the 47-minute mark of the movie, there's kind of just meandering for an hour and a half. They care about how warm they felt when Superman did the simple act of taking the time to rescue a cat stuck in a tree. They remember Superman doing the right thing. They remember the wonder of going for a flight with their new best friend. They remember the joy on his face, the joy on theirs in the theater. They remember what it was like to believe that humanity is good, and what it meant for Superman to be the one who showed them that.
Wait! Who are you?
A friend.